Hi, welcome to the second Juice Shop session of the 2020 Open Security Summit training sessions. I just want to give you a brief welcome before I pass you to our hosts. Basically, just want to say, what to expect here at, these sessions. We expect you to participate, to be involved, to have, lots of mutual respect for everybody. Keep, basically challenging, if needed, and be sort of very focused on the kind of solutions and try to be, kind of thoughtful in your contributions. The key part here of the summit is the openness. So we record all of these sessions, and basically we try to share as much as we can. It's all about releasing everything we do in a Creative Commons and open source license. And of course, if you don't want to be involved, identified or your name there, just don't show your video and use NA during the session. Just a big note on respect. We all here multi-discipline, multicultural, multi-geography. So we want everybody to feel welcomed. And if you spot anything, let us know. And finally, just share your views, right? This is about you learning. It's about collaborating. I think it's very exciting, this technology that we're going to see, the MultiJuicer, because it's really powerful to be able to spin up multiple instances of the Juice Shop, especially if you want to teach. And we actually are going to try to run this in our test AWS environment, so you all be able to kind of have a go later on the summits. And there's the hashtag, please contribute. There's our Slack environment, and please learn and collaborate. And over to you.
Okay, let me just start by sharing the screen, but Robert will do the introduction in a second.
Yeah, just wait to see our So, hi everybody from my side. It's a pleasure to have you here. In this session, we're starting to give you a short introduction about the MultiJuicer project. And we'll start with a short introduction, and then have a look at the current project, why we implemented it, what it's based on, and how it looks like, and what you can do with it. And if you have any questions, just raise your hand or use the chat in the video conferencing tool here. We have a discussion part at the end, and we are really interested in your feedback, and just have a great time together. Jannik, I can't see your slides right now.
What? Am I not sharing correctly? Does it not work if I put my in full screen? Because I was sharing my screen a second ago.
You can see your Slack right now. The other monitor or something like that.
My Slack, you're seeing my Slack right now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's wrong. Wait, you just put it over there then.
Yeah, there are your slides because. Great.
Okay.
Okay, here we are. Great, thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, just a short introduction. My name is Robert Seedorff, and I'm from Hamburg in Germany, working at DTerratech, and I'm responsible for information security at DTerratech and secure software development. I'm also a member of the OWASP and active contributor. DTerratech is a German software development company with about, I would say, 400 employees. We have customers mainly in the German market, but also a lot of international companies, and we are developing custom software. And one important thing developing custom software is security. We believe that nowadays, if you develop software, you need to develop and deliver secure software because it's really crucial in a digital world. And that's why we are investing a lot of time in training our developers and ensure that the complete company shares a common mindset about this topic. We all want to deliver secure software and try to evolve and skill our developers, and therefore we need a lot of different aspects, and developer trainings and secure software development trainings is one of the aspects. And that's why we thought about how can we organize interesting security training for our developers, because the main time developers are working on their projects, and if you are building a security training, you need something fancy, and that's why we organize our trainings in a one-day session, and we right now train our developers hands-on. So the full-day training has some material and theoretical stuff. We use the OWASP informations a lot, and we have an hands-on part where we just engage our developers to try to hack. And there is the Juice Shop, the best option, just to help them to train their abilities to hack. And yeah, that's why we use the Juice Shop, I think, for a lot of use right now. And we also improved our training setup regarding the Juice Shop over time. And that's why we open sourced and implemented the MultiJuicer project, which is based mainly on the OWASP Juice Shop. And the idea is to build a common training environment for developers, which we can use during the training setups, and also for a lot of capture the flag events. And we would like to share you and introduce you to the project. And yeah, the main question is, how do you do such a setup for a group of a lot of developers? In our training sessions, there are normally 10 to 20 participants. And the first question is, okay, if everyone in the training should use the Juice Shop to learn and try some challenges, how do you set up such an environment for the training? Because you don't want to lose so much time setting everything up. And yeah, I would say let's share our experience here. And Jannik, maybe you can help us to understand what possibilities are right now there and what we can do with the MultiJuicer project.
Yeah, we're going to go through 3 different options on what you can do to use Juice Shop for your trainings. Spoiler alert, one of them is going to be MultiJuicer, but we for dramaturgical effects, we're going to keep it in the end, because we're going to start with like the simplest option. If you think about it, the simplest option is just to start your training and say, everybody, okay, everybody, please go to your laptops, clone down the repo and run npm install, which sounds easy enough, and might or might not work depending on what audience you have. But in our experience, there is a lot of that which can go wrong. We listed a few things here. Some are a bit more hypothetical and maybe a little bit dramatic, maybe a bit exaggerated. But we have seen a lot of things, and like Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So you see all kinds of developers around. Some of them don't have Node.js installed, which in most cases is not too bad, because you can install it in like a minute, especially if you have like a Linux or a Mac setup where you can just install it via the command line. But it can take a lot of time out of your workshop or your trainings, because you're going to spend the first 1 or 2 hours debugging everybody's setup, because there will always be at least some people which will have problems.
Yeah, and even if you try to inform your participants upfront before the training, please everybody install the MultiJuicer before you join the training session. Normally, the rate of prepared participants is nearly zero. So all the time you tried such an setup, it's just waste of time.
Yeah, there will always be at least a few people who really wanted to install MultiJuicer but just didn't find the time, and then some emergency came up and they couldn't install it the day before, and now they're sitting there without MultiJuicer. And you just have to run them through and debug everything which can go wrong on the MultiJuicer installation, which requires a lot of Node.js expertise. It's just not what this security trainings are for. So like a local installation is a great way to waste a few hours of your security training. This also depends a little bit on your company. If you have like a company of Node.js developers, then it's probably fine because they will all have recent Node.js versions already installed on the machines, and you can just go ahead and do it. But in most other cases, you will have a lot of mixed experiences there.
And it's not just a development or a technology problem here, because even if you use a Docker setup and have a lot of trained developers, Murphy's Law always hits you. In my trainings, there was always at least one participant who has some troubles with something which you can't prepare for.
Yeah. The second option, which we're listing here, is something which comes actually from the MultiJuicer guide. And this is a pretty easy way to get up with something like a centrally hosted JuiceUp instances. And this option is basically, I call it the Docker run option. And this is just do a bash loop and start as many JuiceUp instances as you have participants, all on different ports, so that you have different JuiceUp instances. And you can basically do it wherever. If you have like a data center in your company, or like just a VM cluster or something, or you can do it on an EC2 machine somewhere in the cloud. It's just a very easy way to spin up a lot of JuiceUp instances. Yeah, okay, this is fine, like I already said, because it's just an easy way to get up and running. And you will have a lot of different JuiceUp instances, which you can just use then in your training. But it comes with some downsides. First of all, if you do this, you now have at least 10 different addresses. So you have probably something like an IP or a host name, and then we'll have to distribute different port numbers to the different contestants or attendees, depending on how competitive your training is. And there's another problem which we've seen in the past, is if you do this, you might have problems with corporate firewalls. If you just run this training in your company, you can try it easily beforehand if this works or not. But if you're like a consultant and go to a customer, then it's a little bit awkward if you have to tell them that you can't run your security training because your security training gets blocked by their firewalls. It's a little bit of an awkward conversation to have with these people that you have to postpone the training. Another issue is you're running a security training, and the security training is pretty easy to hack or to like steal the progress of another team, because any user can just go to a different port and just steal the continue code if you were listening to Björn's session. So there's an easy way to take over the progress of another team. It's also pretty hard for you if you're organizing the session, because you now have like 10 different, at least 10 different instances, and you have to keep track of them, and you don't really have any utilities to do that. You will also need to know how many participants you have, and at least with the trainings I've attended so far, there's also the list of participants is always varies a little bit and is hardly fixed. So you might have a few more people joining in, or a few people you don't attend. So it's got to be a mixed experience, and you might have to even start a few instances during the training because some people join while it's running. Yeah, what's also might be a problem if you're running multiple trainings, you now need multiple EC2 instances, or keep track like basically which ports you have already assigned, and then have like port ranges, which is for training 1, and port ranges for training 2. Can get messy pretty easily. You will also have to remember to get rid of these instances after the training, because if you don't, these will either clash with the next training, or the next participants will be very confused why they already have a lot of progress, because the instances just run. They basically inherited the instances from a previous participant of the training.
Or somebody else find your open instances and use it for stuff you don't want to.
Yeah, this depends on how you expose it. If it's like in the internal company internet, it might be fine. If you're running it on the EC2 instance without any protection, it might be a bit harder. So we're now going to come to the third option, and which is basically the thing we are now promoting a little bit. This is another open source project, which is called MultiJuicer. And what MultiJuicer basically is a toolbox to run these trainings on a centrally hosted Kubernetes cluster, which comes with a lot of utilities you will need to run these trainings all packaged together. So what you can do is you run the training and you have like a single domain. You can assign it to whatever domain you like. So like training.yourcompany.com or whatever. And MultiJuicer comes with an individual load balancer, which is custom made for MultiJuicer, which will make sure that the traffic for team 1 will always go to team 1, and the traffic of team 2 will go to team 2. It will also spin up new instances of JuiceShop on the fly. So if you don't have to know how many participants will be in your training in advance. You just have the MultiJuicer, you have the cluster, and MultiJuicer will just spin up new instances on the cluster. And because we're using Kubernetes itself can scale. So if you're running in something like Google Cloud, Amazon, Azure, they all have auto scaling for Kubernetes. So when Azure or whatever cloud you're using is detecting that your cluster is now full and can't handle a new JuiceShop instance, it will just expand the cluster and add a new node to it. And you don't have to handle it at all because it's all automatic. What's also pretty nice, because all JuiceShop instances always have this load balancer in front, you can't just access the instances of another player or another participants of the training. So cheating, maybe it's not impossible, but it's at least very, very hard. I'm not going to say that we're unhackable or anything. What it will also do, it will keep track of the progress of an instance. And if something happens to the instance, like somebody accidentally crashed their container or anything happens that the container has to restart, MultiJuicer will automatically apply the progress again, so they will can keep their progress and don't lose it if something goes wrong. What it also does is, which is a pretty nice convenience feature, it will clean up old instances which hasn't been used for a while. So MultiJuicer will keep track when was the last request which was sent to this instance. And you can configure basically a time frame. So when an instance wasn't used for whatever interval you like, we basically at our company set it to something like 1 or 2 days, I think. So we basically don't even have to remember if we had a training or not, because the instances will just clean up themselves after the training, after the period of time went over.
It's also possible to give your trainees the chance to use the training environment after the training for a while if they want to. Some of our trainings are so involved in the JuiceShop hacking stuff that they want to play and solve another challenge after the training, and therefore we can just use the cleanup feature. If they are finished, the instance will be cleaned up.
Yeah, the nice thing is that they can basically keep their instance hot by themselves, because it's not basically tied to the duration of the training, but when they keep using it after the training, it will just keep running because it automatically detects the last requests. We're gonna now have a short look on how it works, and then we're gonna do a little demo and see how it actually looks. How it works is basically pretty simple if you look at this graph, because we just have like this Kubernetes cluster. I hope you can see my mouse cursor, right? Because I'm sharing my screen.
No, we can just see your slides.
When I use pointer,
yeah,
then it works. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. For anybody who doesn't know it, this logo is the Kubernetes logo. So this is this line here is basically the boundary of the Kubernetes cluster. So what you can see is we have this juice balancer, which is basically the name of our custom load balancer. And behind the juice balancer are sitting these individual juice shop instances. What you can also see is what we normally allow in our trainings is that people team up in the trainings, so they can both work together to solving these challenges and helping each other, which is at least how we are doing it normally, which we think is the best way to learn something. So it also allows people to join up in a team. You don't have, not everybody needs to have their own instance, but just every team. And when these requests of these teams come in, we basically set another cookie. And through this cookie, we keep track which traffic should go to which instance. And these instances are not directly exposed through the internet, but only through the juice balancer. So they can't go like around the juice balancer and access them directly, but they always have to go through the balancer, which keeps them nice and isolated. And we're gonna now do a short little demo. If I'm able to exit this and close this for a second. Because we set up a little juice shop instance, this is running on GKE, so on the Google Cloud. But MultiJuicer will run anywhere where you can run Kubernetes. I've actually tried running it on a Raspberry Pi over the weekend, and it just works fine. You still have to do some work at the moment to get it running on ARM processors, but we might be able to fix this officially, so everybody can just run their trainings on a little Raspberry Pi and don't have to use the cloud if they don't want to. Okay, but back to the demo. This is basically the starting screen of the MultiJuicer. We have this little UI, and what you just do is you come up with a new team name. I'm just going to use Open Security Summit.
And in our trainings, we tell every participant at this moment to team up and choose a team name. Typically, our teams have two members, so that two developers are sitting in front of one monitor and start to use the training environment and to learn something.
Just now clicked at the button. But you can now also see, because I'm hovering over it, you get a passcode per instance. This is basically like the layer of protection which keeps the teams isolated from each other. But you can also see in the bottom is that what's currently happening right now. Maybe if I'm quick enough, I can show it on the command line. So I'm now connected against the Kubernetes cluster. I'm just going to list out all the G shops we have. May have to exchange the keys again. And what we now see is we have a new G shop deployment. It's already up and running. You can also see that the browser also reports that the instance is up and running, and we can, if you click the button now, we can join the instance. And okay, what you would normally do in this training is, if you have a team member, like Robert already said, you just share this passcode with your team member, and then they can join during the duration of the training. And what we're also currently looking into is just slapping a single sign-on in front of it, so that you can just skip this like local setup. But it's something for the future. I'm just gonna do is just click on the Start Hacking button, And what we'll then see is just the OS G shop. Plain and simple, there's nothing fancy on it.
And
I think.
And without any port.
Yeah.
So we are using a plain URL and the cookie to redirect every team member to his isolated Juice Shop instance.
Yeah. Unfortunately, apparently this is not the Juice Shop 11. I've messed something up, and I think I used the wrong version when I upgraded the setup a few minutes ago. But you can basically use any Juice Shop version you want. But we always try to provide the newest Juice Shop version as soon as possible. So you can see I already have like a login cookie from another testing I did. But I can now do anything I want, and in this Juice Shop I can log in as whoever I want, whatever I want. And it just functions as a normal Juice Shop. Just kind of for the fun of it, I'm just going to do the SQL injection challenge. Shit. 1 equals 1. And now I'm logged in as administrator. And you can also see that I'm getting these challenge notifications. Oh, and I accidentally solved a challenge. Didn't even mean to do that. Interesting.
Yeah, if in our trainings, if everybody has signed in here and is able to use his dedicated Juice Shop, we help the developers just to solve the first challenges, give them additional informations and theoretical stuff to learn something about the different challenges types here in the Juice Shop, and interactively change between the hacking session and the theoretical session. And everybody is able to learn and make progress through the day when we're running the training.
Yeah, what you can also totally do is to use this new tutorial mode of Juice Shop, which might be especially helpful if you're not having in-person trainings, but have to rely on the Juice Shop's capability itself to teach about security by its own, without a trainer in the room, which might be pretty helpful in the current circumstances in the world.
I think the combination of the tutorial mode, which is introduced in the Juice Shop, and the MultiJuicer setup will also be a good starting point to introduce virtual training sessions without a security trainer, which is sitting next the trainees and help them, because with the tutorial mode, it's even more easier to go through the shop and find challenges. And that's something we will try to use and experience with in the next time.
Yes. What we're now going to do is, because I think we've now seen enough about Juice Shop. If you attended the last session, you've seen even more from Juice Shop. We're going to now look a little bit about the monitoring capabilities of which MultiJuicer comes baked in. For that, first of all, I'm going to go back to the Juice Balancer interface. You can now see that.
Jannik, just one question. Maybe are you able to show the administration interface, maybe?
Yeah, that's basically what I now wanted to show before we go into the monitoring setup.
Okay, perfect.
Because MultiJuicer comes basically with a hidden account built in, which is the admin account. It doesn't really have a Juice Shop instance behind it. You have to know the passcode. If you actually in the OWASP, in the Slack of the Open Security Summit, you might have seen it because I accidentally pasted it into into the Slack channel a few minutes ago. Whoops. But apparently nobody has yet accessed the administration interface yet. Okay. Well, I see already somebody has tried. to create an instance here, and apparently it's not yet ready. Interesting. Okay. What it basically is like currently just a very, very lightweight interface to view which teams are currently active and which are not. It's basically a replacement for the terminal, because in Kubernetes you can just do everything you do in the terminal. If you have like a cloud instance running, most of them come with something like a dashboard built in, where you can keep track of the instances and administrate them by hand. But this is just basically a nice way to access this interface. If you install MultiJuicer, it will actually randomly generate the admin password. So we don't have like a built-in backdoor into every every instance, because every instance will have a different admin password. It's described in the documentation on how you can get this admin password. The other option to monitor your instances is using something like Grafana. I don't know, Robert, do you want to talk a little bit about that? And yeah, I will just try to click on the right stuff for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or do you want to share your screen?
Just for explanation, we are looking here at our Grafana dashboard, which is packed up with the MultiJuicer. And yeah, if you're installing a MultiJuicer environment, you can also use the Prometheus operator setup in your cluster. And if you use this, MultiJuicer dashboards will be installed also. And the dashboard is a helpful instrument for every security trainer, because if you have a group of 10 or 20 or even 50 or more people in your training, you want to know, okay, how much progress did every team made, and where are they standing right now? Are there any problems? Is every team on the right challenge? And therefore we introduced the MultiJuicer dashboard here. And as you can see, Jannik also selected the team OSS, which is created a few minutes ago. And this dashboards give you a brief overview. There are some business metrics at the top. So the you can see the challenges by category and the progress. You can see the complete progress by team, and also some metrics like the interaction stuff, how many requests are made to this instance, and how many users sign up. So if you use the Juice Shop login are made, and even some technical stuff about the dedicated instance here, the HTTP requests or the node version. And in our training setups, we use the dashboard mainly to get an overview about each team, and if there are some technical problems, maybe with the Juice Shop or with the challenge, and we are not quite sure is it a technical problem or a user problem, we have introduced the log also, so you can see the log level, the log information of each instance here in the dashboards, and you can switch between the different instances which are running right now. And a second dashboard we are working right now on is the team dashboard, where you get an aggregated overview and see on one view how many teams are actually working right now and which progress do they make during the training session. So you can see on the right-hand side the different teams and the overall progress in the Juice Shop, and the count of the teams working right now. This is just a progress dashboard, and we are interested and happy to hear about your thoughts, what metrics maybe would be interesting, and this is something we will introduce in the MultiJuicer in the future.
Yeah, right. Okay, this was basically all we had to demo today. We're going to show a lot more also on the technical side in this deep dive session in 2 weeks. We have some closing slides. I think I'm completely in the wrong space here. Just open this up in present mode again. The right screen. So if I'm now again using the wrong screen or something, just scream.
Yeah, it's okay. We can see the slides again. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, for the introduction session today, we just try to sum up the comparison of the different setup options here. And as you might note, we have 3 different options. The local installation is possible and mainly a good choice if you are use the training on your own. But if you are using a more bigger setup with a lot of participants, it's not the best options because you lose time during the setup phase. And the second option to run this in a dedicated hosting environment, basically with Docker, is a good option, but you have a lot of limits and problems if you want to do this a little bit more in a professional way in your company, and if you're interested in more stable setup, the Juice Shop MultiJuicer setup is the choose of the setup of our choose. So we try to address a lot of the option 2 problems, and we're also working on this setup and using this in our trainings, in our consultant projects. And we're really interested what you think about the setup, how you would use such a setup, and how you are actually doing your security trainings. And if you are interested in this setup, I would love to hear your questions, and we can use the rest of the time to discuss the MultiJuicer setup. The in-deep dive session will be in two weeks, I think. And in this session, we will show you how to install the setup. You can sneak peek at GitHub already. You can find the project on GitHub. It's all open source. And we will help you to set up the MultiJuicer and explain a little bit more about the customizing features and even the Kubernetes setup, how all this stuff actually works in the deep dive session. And for now, we would like to hear if you have any questions and ideas, maybe some metrics you are missing, or ideas how to set up the MultiJuicer. Or like in the beginning of the session, there was a question, how about some helpful information about the trainer stuff? Maybe, just feel open to share your feedback and suggestions with us with the chat, I think.
You can also talk or whatever if you're comfortable being recorded.
Well, you know what I mentioned, like I would like us to try to set this up on AWS for the rest of the summit attendees, right? And we can just document it, and see how that works, right? Because that's also a good real world situation, right?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I'm guessing we're going to be in touch after the session in the Slack, and we probably can get this up and running. Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have other topics, suggestions for the deep dive session? Otherwise, if you don't feel comfortable talking right now, putting it in this chat, just share it in Slack. Either write us directly or share it in the Juice Shop channel. which is both is fine, and we will try to work it into the deep dive session in 2 weeks. A few other things which you can basically also do to help us out. The first of all, what we really would like you to do is try it out, see how it works. If you don't have not using the cloud and just want to try it out locally, if you're running like something on Mac or Windows, you can just use Docker for Mac or Docker for Windows to spin up your local Kubernetes cluster, and MultiJuicer just works fine in it, so you can just install it there. What we really would like to do is also to start the repo, which is a very important metric for us to know how many people are interested in it. And if you tried it out and found some issues, please feel free to file them either in the GitHub issue tracker, or just write us in either the OWASP Slack or the Open Security Summit Slack. We are both there. You can also just write them into the Project JuShop channel in the OWASP Slack. One other thing which we always appreciate is people who have experience with different cloud environments than we do, is help us write setup guides for them. We had a few people come in and write guides for AWS, which was really helpful because I'm not an AWS expert, and AWS can be a little bit confusing. And whatever you do, if you have feedback for the talk or feedback for the project itself, please feel free to share them with us. We would be really interested in what you think about it. Okay. And that was basically everything from our side. Thank you very much for listening and asking questions. And try to stay safe in the next time. It's a bit hard.
Yeah, famous last words. Thank you, everybody.
All right, cool. So I'll stop recording.